There is a creator of all who creates everything. This includes everybody you can see, you and me, or all of our thoughts, ideas, feelings, and body sensations, like if we are feeling cold, if we are feeling well or not well, if we are feeling sick. So all of these things are created by that one creator. And how the creator communicates with us is through a thing called intuition or hunch, or I just like to call it deep knowing. You just knew that something is right or not. You just knew if this is right for you or not. That deep knowing is how the creator communicate with us. But the thing is, we have a lot of interruptions that interact us to receive the communication from the creator. Those interruptions, like, other people's thoughts, other people's emotions, or the education we receive when we grow up, or it can be our physical health. If we are feeling weak or if we are sick, we certainly cannot hear the communication from the creator that well. Just think about if you have like a severe headache, or if just like normal breathing is an issue for you, it would be much harder. It would be much harder for you to have a clear channel which allows you to receive the information from the creator all the time. There's just so many factors. Everything can influence our communication with the creator, make us confused and make the wrong choices. So that's why we need to do some daily practice to keep our channel with the communicator, with the creator open, so that we can hear creator's voice very clearly. And also, as soon as we hear the voice, we can just follow with our action. So the way to keep the channel open is through any kinds of activity that can quiet your mind, such as meditation. But the most powerful way to communicate with the creator, what I found so far, is to read a Buddhist sutra and a Buddhist mantra. So the name of the mantra is called, in English, it's called the Surya Gama Mantra, and the sutra is called the Diamond Sutra. It's a very famous and kind of classic Buddhist text, but you don't need to be Buddhist to be able to read this sutra and mantra, and you don't need to be a Buddhist to receive the full benefits. Actually, I myself is not a Buddhist. I am not religious. I read this mantra and sutra as a spiritual practice or self-care practice, or just a form of meditation. And I like to give a very brief introduction on how I found this ancient Buddhist text, how I found this sutra and mantra. It's a very interesting journey. So basically, I am not religious. I don't have any religious practice. I am spiritual. And nobody I know, nobody from my family is religious, and nobody from my family is actually spiritual. Even now, to this day, I can only talk about my spirituality with my mom only. For other family members, I cannot even mention anything spiritual nature because they will think is feudalistic superstition. I remember it's around 2 or 3 years back. There's one day me and my mom are talking on the phone, and she said in her dream, that night she got a dream, and in her dream she heard 2 words. She heard 金刚 in Chinese. Jin means, if translated directly into English, that Jin she saw in her dream, it means metal. Translated directly into metal. Gang means still. And then after she woke up, she just can't help wondering, what does that mean? Metal and still. Is there a special meaning? So she just searched it. And there's like a few things, pop up, but nothing caught her attention. It's just normal stuff. Like nothing caught her attention. But there's like one thing that popped up really made her searched a little bit further. That is the Diamond Sutra. The Diamond Sutra pop up because the Diamond Sutra's Chinese name is called Jin Gang Jing. So the Jin and Gang, the metal and steel, those two words are the exactly same two words. Although in English it transferred into diamond, but in Chinese it's called Jin Gang. It means metal and steel if translated directly. So she just became curious and think about, what is this Diamond Sutra? So she just started reading this. After she started reading this, I remember she often talk about how good it is for giving her a lot of life wisdom and just generally grounded her. It is just like really beneficial force of energy. It is as if someone immersed in nature. That kind of feeling, you cannot really put it into word why it is good. Like you are in a beautiful natural park. You just feel good. It gives you energy. It makes you feel calm. It makes you feel healthy. It makes you feel, you can breathe so easily. It just makes you feel good. It replenish you the life force energy that you need. It is like a good night's sleep, that kind of a good force energy. And also at the same time, when you're reading the Diamond Sutra, it also at the same time gives you wisdom about how you should approach life. So this is how I got to know the Diamond Sutra is from my mom, and my mom received this information from her dream. It's a very interesting way to get to know this information because nobody in my family is religious. We are born in a family that believe in science very much. Nobody in our family is even spiritual or I have never heard any of my family member talk about anything that is kind of spiritual in nature. So from then on, my mom started read a few Buddhist texts. So after she read the Diamond Sutra, she also found some other Buddhist sutra. One of them is called the Suragaman Sutra, which is also a very famous sutra if you are a Buddhist. If you are learning a certain branch of Buddhism. I still, to this day, I have no idea about Buddhism. I only read one of these sutra and mantra. That's all what I do as my spiritual practice. So my mom branched out her reading as her interest grows. And she also found this Suragaman Sutra. And in this sutra, it talks about a mantra that Buddha one day spoke this sutra to someone, and after that person become enlightened straight away. So when my mom told me this story, I just asked her straight away, what's the name of the sutra? Because if there's something that is so powerful, that is so helpful for me to get enlightened, or I want to know what that is. At that time, my mom didn't really know. My mom didn't really pay much attention because somehow she thought becoming enlightened is so far away from her or something. But later on, she kept reading in this Surangama Sutra. She found that mantra. It's the same name. It's called Surangama Mantra. Is a much shorter text instead of like a sutra is a really thick book. So later on she found that mantra, and then ever since she found this mantra, I started reading. When I recall, I don't remember why I started reading it at all. I don't really know. But I remember when I first started reading it, even if it's in Sanskrit language, I found a kind of familiarity. I felt like I have read this before, even though for me it's like alien language that I completely have no idea what they are talking about and how to pronounce that word. I kind of learned from a video, word by word, about how to pronounce it and how to read it. But even at the very beginning, I already felt I read it before. So it has a kind of familiarity within me with this sutra, with this mantra. So the benefit I feel I got from reading Surangama Sutra is that the first thing is it's really helpful for you to fall asleep. If you are someone who suffer from insomnia, I highly recommend you to read this sutra for as long as you could, of course, but at least 40 minutes, something like 40 minutes to an hour. You will sleep like a baby. I promise you, you will sleep like a baby. Second thing about this sutra is, after reading it, it kind of relieved all your fears. All your fears started to fade away. For example, if you are someone who has a strong fear of public speaking, after reading this for a while, when you are speaking in front of many people, you don't feel much fear as you felt before. So basically, anything that is bothering you, for example, you are someone who suffers from low self-esteem, it will just slowly clear that away. So every kind of issues, whether it is psychological or physical issues, physical ailment, for example, if you are someone who suffers from digestive issues, after reading this sutra, your digestion is improved so much. So everything, whether it's physical or psychological issues, it's all very helpful. This is what I have tried. I started reading this Surangama Sutra for about nearly a year. So every day, on average, I would spend something like 40 minutes. Some days I read 2 or 3 hours, but some days maybe I only read 10 minutes. So I would say average 40 minutes for a year now. So everything I said here is I experienced to be true. And also from my mom, she's also reading it a few hours a day. So she also experienced exactly the same as I mentioned. So I highly recommend people to read this Surangama Sutra as a daily spiritual practice. It's really easy. It's no-brainer because you don't need to understand the meaning. You just need to read, and that's all. And through this sutra, you communicate with the Creator. You basically saying to the Creator, please look after me. Please look after my house and everything in my life. This is the most effective way to communicate with the Creator. So that is the Surangama Sutra. So another test is called the Diamond Mantra. It's also very powerful, but it's good to start with the sutra because it's very short. And also it acts like a foundation for you to be able to read Diamond Sutra. But if you're someone who just can already start reading Diamond Sutra straight away, you can of course do that. They basically do the same thing. So why I started with the Surangama Sutra first is because I found at the beginning it's very hard for me to just read the Diamond Sutra straight away because I would get really distracted. You know that kind of person, you ask them to sit there quietly, meditate for 5 minutes, it's like they just cannot do it. It's the same thing. You have so many distracting thoughts make you cannot focus on reading the mantra. So starting with the sutra is a good one because it's really short. It only takes me 15 minutes to finish reading this sutra. So it's a really good starting point. And once your mind become much more calmer and your thoughts become much more organized, you can start reading the Diamond Sutra. But you can just give it a try to see what works for you, because I think everyone is different. So just explore around. You certainly see I'll put the name, the English name. Also, I'll put the Chinese name of this sutra and mantra in this video, an English name, so you can Google. I'll see if I can figure out a way, if I can put a link or something, so you can go directly to the sutra and mantra and start reading them today.